Hello. So we are with Lynsey Wangiel from Derwendeg Primary School in Caerphilly, North Caerphilly. Hi, Lynsey. How are you doing today?
Yeah, hi Nick, I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, all good. The sun is shining, so all good.
So obviously, because of the pandemic, we can't get you onto campus. So with Teams, sometimes it does lag. Sometimes we do need to freeze. I'm going to turn my camera off for a second. It might help with the picture. So
Okay,
in this session, in this short interview, I've got a few questions from students.
okay,
Part of this module is linked to employability, so we're going to talk a little bit about employability. But I'd love to
okay.
start because you've had um, a different journey to becoming a head. So maybe just telling us a bit about how you've sort of started in teaching and then how you've become head teacher.
Okay. So I knew from when I was a little girl I wanted to be a teacher. When I was sort of 7 years old, I'd be teaching my dog. So I always knew that's what I wanted to do. So worked hard through prompt, and I knew that was my path straight to university. I had a really difficult time in university. I didn't particularly thrive on the course, and I found it really challenging. And I found myself in particularly my third school where my confidence was completely knocked, and I very, very, very nearly decided to call it a day. And I just found it too challenging, and it was just too hard because it is a demanding course. But luckily, I had a good support network around me and family and friends, and they convinced me that I was this far and to get to the end, which I did, and I'm so glad I did because it was just a case of persevering. And the course will demand, it is demanding and it does take perseverance, but it is absolutely worth it. So when I qualified university, then I went to work and live in Essex for a year. I found it really difficult looking for jobs in Wales because there was so few and far between and so many applicants for every job. And I had a cousin that worked up in a school in Essex, and she told me there was a job up there, so I applied for it and went there. Best thing I ever did. I absolutely loved it. Fantastic school that really helped to build my confidence back up in a really supportive team, and just having the support network of everyone there and that great team to work with was brilliant. So I only stayed up there for a year. So I then moved back, was very, very lucky to apply for a job in a school in Cwmbran, and was lucky enough to get the post. So I worked in that school in Cwmbran for 6.5 years, and took every opportunity I could there. While I was there was an opportunity for a secondment onto the senior leadership team, so I went for that and got experience then while I was there. And then whilst I was there, then a full senior leadership position became available, so I applied for that and was lucky enough to get that as well. So, but it was just looking for any opportunity to build experience and build it quite quickly. So then I applied then for a deputy headship. 2013. So I was only 27 at the time, and I was very young, and I thought, oh, is this actually too soon? But I knew a lot about the school and really, really wanted to work there and be a leader there and help to drive the school forward. So I applied for it and was lucky enough to get it. So I ended up becoming a deputy at 27, which was a challenge. It was a challenging school. It was a school that required a lot of improvement, but I loved it there, absolutely loved it there. And again, a fantastic team of people that drove the school forward and worked together and really made a difference. So then I sort of about 4 or 5 years into deputy headship, there's sort of an expectation then for to start looking at headships. They sort of say you shouldn't be a deputy for that long or for much longer than 5 or 6 years. And to be honest, I was never really influenced by that because my own journey is my own journey. But I sort of became interested then in looking at headship, and that's quite a long road because where it stands at the moment, you've got to do a preparing for headship course. At the time I did that, it wasn't mandatory, whereas it now is, and I'm glad it is because it's brilliant. And then you've got to do the NPQH then, the National Professional Qualification for Headship. So there's about 2 to 3 years worth of building up to actually getting the qualification and applying for the jobs. So yes, we did that. I did the preparing for headship first and went straight on to doing the NPQH. And then started applying for jobs, which was a real challenge because they were just such different interviews and such different interview processes to anything I'd experienced before. And I found myself getting knocked back and building myself back up and learning along the way. But what I've found through every interview process really is where I haven't been successful is just taking that time to really look and listen to the feedback that I was given to build on it for the next time and to keep improving on it. And as hard as it is to be knocked down sometimes, you just got to look at it, reflect on it, and allow it to, to make you stronger for the next time.
Yeah,
so yes, I applied for the position here in June 2019. I was lucky enough to get the post and started here in September 2019. And then the pandemic hit. So it's been an interesting first 2 years of headship. But I love it here. Absolutely love it here. I've got a fantastic team. I've got a fantastic school community, amazing children. I absolutely love being here. It's been challenging, certainly been challenging the last couple of years with the pandemic thrown in the mix. But it's just a case of everyone chipping in together and working together and supporting each other, even though we weren't able to see each other for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am now. So I'm in my second year of headship here and really, really enjoying it. It's a challenge. I learn something new every single day. But it's certainly been a good challenge. I'm just waiting for COVID to be over, so I'll certainly manage so that I feel like I can get on with the job I actually applied to do.
I bet, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the school? So, like how many are on roll and where you guys are, just as a bit of context.
Yeah, so we've got 192 children on roll across 7 classes. We've got a nursery here, so they go from nursery up to year 6. So our foundation phase classes are mixed year groups, but then Key Stage 2 are all straight year groups. We're in an area of Caerphilly called Kevin Hengoed. We've got 32% of our pupils who are eligible for free school meals, so that's quite high. It's a lot higher than the national average, so that does present with some deprivation difficulties and some challenges that we know as part of our curriculum that we need to address, that other schools may not need to address. So we work really hard with parents and families, which is, again, another challenge with COVID. But when I started here, one of the things that attracted me to the school before I applied was that I knew it's very much a school that's at the heart of the community, and it's really well loved by the community, and the school had worked really hard to build up and work on their FACE programme, their family and community engagement programmes, and they were really successful. And that is really a big success of the school because we've got such good relationships with parents. We've got a fantastic family liaison officer. And myself and her stand on the gate every morning and every afternoon just to build relationships with parents and have that base of seeing parents every day. And it is a school that's really at the heart of the community. So we're still on our curriculum journey, as most schools are at the moment with the new curriculum, and it has been a bit of a jumpy journey with COVID and lockdown and everything else. But that's sort of well developed. But it is a fantastic school. It's what we describe the town it's the village. It's a village school, and it's really loved by the community. It's our 100th birthday this year, so it's a very old building. But I love that about it. It comes with challenges such as roofs and different building costs and whatnot. But our 100th birthday now. It's actually our 100th birthday on the 18th of April. So we opened on the 18th of April 1921. So we can't celebrate in the way we wanted to with a big festival and big celebrations outside. So we've decided to split the celebrations into 2 parts. The first part being about the children's learning. So all the classes are taking on a decade or 2 decades from the last 100 years and are going to focus their learning on that. And then when we can, and when we're able to with COVID regulations, we should be having a very big community celebration. And we've reached out to the community just for photos and any memorabilia people might have from the last 100 years, and the response has been incredible. We've set up a specific email address for people to send photos and memories and news clippings and things to, and the response has been fantastic. Ex-pupils that really want to help the school and really want to be involved in these celebrations. It's huge. There's so many of them. So it's a very, very special school. I'm very, very lucky.
Oh, happy birthday, Derwendeg.
Thank you.
You just touched upon there about the new curriculum as well as the pandemic. We've got a new curriculum to contest with. I've got a question from one of our students. So Michelle's asked, are you looking forward to bringing in the new curriculum, and what do you think will be the biggest challenges when implementing it?
aside from COVID. So yes, very much looking forward to bringing in the new curriculum. And it's been a long journey, and there's obviously a long way to go and still lots to learn. But we've been working on sort of our curriculum vision and what we want for our curriculum. So we started off with ours looking at an idea like magpie from another school, and that's something I do a lot, is magpie ideas from other schools. I like to spend a lot of time visiting other schools when we were allowed and just stealing ideas, basically. One school I visited up in England, they based their curriculum on a question that they'd worked with their school community on, which was, what do we want our children to leave with by the end of year 6, basically. And they used that as a basis to form their curriculum. So we did the same thing as part of our curriculum vision. We worked with staff and parents and governors and said, well, what is it we want our children to leave with? Outside of the literacy and the math and everything else, what are those skills that we want our children to leave with? Things like self-regulation and honesty and understanding it's okay to make mistakes and things like that. So we've been really working on our curriculum vision and what we want that to look like. So our curriculum is called Aspire. We are doing a lot of work on raising aspirations for our children and allowing them to see what opportunities are out there. Obviously university is one of the opportunities, but for some of our children, they may go down a more practical or vocational route. So we decided to call our curriculum the Aspire curriculum, which stands for aspirational, skills-based, purposeful, informative. It was inspirational, but we talked a lot about knowledge and the fact that our children do need knowledge as well as skills. So it's informative, realistic and engaging. So we're still working on that and still building that vision. And very much as a team, how we develop the curriculum has had to be a team and collaborative effort led by the staff, not from sort of SLT. So we're very much looking forward to working on that. And I think the biggest challenge we're going to face is the assessment side of it. We're all sort of waiting with bated breath to come out and see, well, obviously, we're working on levels and outcomes at the moment. What's that going to look like with the new curriculum? Because unfortunately, assessments can often, I suppose it's like the assessment is the tail wagging the dog. It should be the curriculum first, but because we always want our children to achieve the best outcomes and the best attainment that they can, I think our biggest challenge is how we fulfil the curriculum that we want whilst ensuring the children are assessed accurately. So it very much depends on what the assessment's going to look like for us in that new curriculum.
And it's funny calling it the new curriculum, because I guess it's been with us, it's been with schools for quite a while now. So I guess it's just trying to put everything in place.
Yeah.
I've got another question, and this links to how the university have been working with you guys. So Megan was asking about how you're going to incorporate wellbeing into the new curriculum. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what you guys are doing with your European project, because that is really exciting. Yeah,
it is very exciting. I've had a meeting about it today, actually. So wellbeing is really high on our agenda. A lot of our children, unfortunately, do come, with ACEs and adverse childhood experiences, so it has to be high on our agenda. And it's a very strong belief here that we know that unless our children are emotionally ready to learn, that whatever we put in place, they're not going to progress in the way we want them to. So wellbeing is massively high on our agenda, and was before I came here. Again, it's something that attracted me to the school. And we always run in interventions such as Thrive, ELSA, the emotional literacy. But from a curriculum perspective, it's just making sure, and that's that shift. We always think of literacy and numeracy as the core subjects, but we know all of the AOLEs in the new curriculum will have equal weighting. So we're giving that weighting to health and wellbeing as much as we do to literacy and maths. So we're working on a project it's an Erasmus project, so it's an international links project with Greece and Spain, and it's called Active Schools. And the aim of it is for our children to be more active. So there's 3 Welsh schools involved and 3 schools in Greece and 3 schools in Spain. And even though it's around the children being more active in their physical activity, we've made sure as part of that we're also looking at the children's mental well-being as well. So we've sort of said healthy body, healthy mind equals a happy life. So we've recently embarked on that, and we started it through lockdown with our Keep Fit Fridays. So at home on a Friday, we gave the children a menu of activities that would look at healthy eating, look at physical health and exercise, but also look at their mental well-being. And also it was quite nice that we started it in that way, because it meant the parents were involved as well, so the parents could see what we were doing and what we were trying to push for our children. So we've carried that on now while the children have been back in school. Because the idea initially was that we'd just be one year group that would engage in the Active Schools project, but we decided to do it whole school, and I'm so glad we did, because it's benefited the children massively. And we've also recently taken on it's a programme more than an intervention, because it's whole school, called the Worry Wizard. And we've got a family in our community who very sadly lost their 1-year-old little girl this time last year. And they've been incredible, and they set up a charity and in her name, and as part of it they're focusing on wellbeing, and they've got secured funding from National Lottery for 25 schools to have this Worry Wizard programme in, which is brilliant. It teaches children about what a worry is and how to manage worries and what we can do when we are worried and things like that. So we've built that into our Keep Fit Fridays to work on their mental health as well. But I'm very lucky that all the staff buy into that. We know that, yes, their literacy skills, the children's literacy skills are important, and yes, their math skills and everything else is important, but actually, if we're not getting the well-being right and focusing on the children's well-being and their mental health, we're going to lose out in other sides of the curriculum. But also for parents to understand that, a lot of the FACE sessions we were running before school closure were also focused on well-being. They weren't all just academic, because we know that happy parents can mean happy children as well. And if children's parents aren't happy, they can be affected by their parents' anxieties and things. So it's very much a sort of community effort to look after each other and to focus on keeping our minds healthy as well.
Yeah, and this is definitely why I wanted you to speak to our students, just because this holistic approach that your school takes definitely reflects what the new curriculum is all about, and I just wanted to share that with our students. We've got some questions. Obviously, this module is linked to employability as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our students only just started out on their sort of teaching journey. Just for them in uni, any advice that you have for our students in terms of what they could be doing over these 3 years to sort of build towards teaching? Just before this call, we were sort of saying how hard it is to get into teaching. I know when I was back filling my role, there were over 300 applications, and my head teacher had a real nightmare trying to fill just the amount of applicants that were out there. And I think you were saying it was similar for when you were looking as well. So any advice in terms of what our students could do over these 3 years to build their CV?
The best advice is take any opportunity you can without sort of taking on too much and sort of burning out, because as Nick's just said, there are so many applicants out there. So before I left my previous role, we were recruiting for a teacher for a 1-year contract, and we didn't think we'd attract too many applicants because it was only for a 1-year contract. We ended up with in excess of 60 applications. Wow. Which doesn't sound like many, but when you're trying to shortlist, that's a lot. And what's really important is that your application stands out from everyone else's. And that's the challenge, is think of it as your unique selling point. So what's unique about you? What makes you stand out from the applicant next to you? And you, over the next 3 years, before you come to apply, you need to build those unique selling points. So any opportunities you get, any opportunities at all, whether it's to run a club or to work in a different school environment or to lead on something, any opportunity you get, take it. But also look for your initiative as well, and look for opportunities. Opportunities won't always land in your lap. You need to look for those opportunities and take them. And that's what will help you to stand out, and that's what will help you to build your unique selling points, because you will need to stand out, because it is a challenge, and it is difficult, when there's so many applicants. So build yourself up and think, how am I going to make myself stand out from the next person? Think about your professional learning as well. There's never an end to learning. Right from now, you should have that mindset of, I'm going to be a learner for the rest of my life, and I still do loads of professional reading. So just keep working on that. Don't just do it because you're told to do it. Constantly read articles, look on Twitter. Twitter is amazing. So and for you to build your own presence on Twitter as well. Some schools may do that. Some schools may look to see who's got an online presence and what sort of things they've been engaging in. So that's worth looking into as well. But as well as those opportunities to build your experiences, look for any opportunity to present, because as part of the interview, looking back on when I've been both the interviewee and the interviewer, is nerves will get in your way. And unfortunately, I've interviewed some fantastic people who have had a fantastic application form, but unfortunately, they've come to interview and they've just fallen apart. And that is natural. You will get nervous. So take any opportunity you can, not just to be in an interview situation, but to present, because a big part of the role is presentation. You'll be teaching all day and presenting to your children. There'll be times we'll be expected to present to the rest of the staff, times where you'll be expected to present to governors sometimes. So any opportunities you can take over those 3 years to just build your presentation skills, because the more confident you feel as a presenter, the more confident you come across in an interview, and that can go a long way, because nerves can really get in the way sometimes. Just work over the next year, just like I said, just take any opportunities, anything you can put on an application form that you can talk about. Because the other thing in interview, and what heads will look for in interviews, or interview panels will look for, is, yes, okay, I've done this, but actually, have you got, what impact has it had, or what have you learned from it? So always see yourself as a learner and look to build on those opportunities to build your experiences. That's
brilliant advice. I mean, I'm jealous of this cohort, this generation going through, especially with the digital side, because I remember first starting out and I was dropping off CVs to schools. I was even thinking about the different envelopes, the different quality envelopes I'd be dropping it off to. But now they've got a real opportunity with Twitter to build up a presence, especially now over these next 3 years. A number of our graduates who've got jobs have built up that Twitter presence. They've gone on EduTwitter, they've asked people like yourself questions, they get themselves known by asking questions. I think that's so important to modern students today.
Yeah, definitely. And Twitter is fantastic. You can get lost in it sometimes because there is a wealth of resources out there. And sometimes I might look on there for 5 minutes and just see something. Oh, great. And like I said earlier, I magpie so many things. And that's probably another bit of advice, actually. Spend time in as many schools as you possibly can. I know that's difficult at the moment. But if you've got opportunities, even to go in as a volunteer, because if you'll have your placements and you'll have your specific schools. But if you can spend time in other schools as well, even if it's just stealing ideas or being in, I loved as a teacher and still now, and I miss it actually at the moment, just being in the classroom, because there is so many little ideas and golden nuggets, as I like to call them, that you can take. And Twitter's full of these golden nuggets. Twitter, there's so much on there, and if you can build that presence, some schools may look for that. They may look and think, okay, I can see that person is on education Twitter and looking to learn, because that's what I know is one thing that I'd be looking for, is for somebody that's willing to learn. We're never the finished article. We're constantly learning and constantly developing, as is education. So having that Twitter presence and being and engaging with other educational professionals just shows you've got that willingness to learn, and that willingness to learn from others as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. I mean, as well, what a lot of our graduates, they've used digital technology. They've built up YouTube channels. They've built up all the work they've done over the 3 years. Because a lot of the time you forget, 3 years is quite a long time. So it's just thinking about, I don't know if you've seen on CVs, but repositories of like a little blog people have done, or a QR code to the YouTube channel, little things. Using technology to actually sell yourself, I think, is really key.
Yeah, and that would certainly be a unique selling point that would stand you out from the rest of the crowd or rest of the applications. And to have something like that, the more you can put in the application, and even though, you've got your application and you may be limited to the number of pages that you can put for your application and your supporting letter, but what you put in with that application, as additional or appendices, is up to you. So if you have got a link, or if you have got things that you can you can signpost people to, it will make you stand out. And again, it shows that initiative and that willingness to learn, and that willingness to think outside the box as well, and to and to engage in different ways. But certainly with technology at the moment, is huge and is developing constantly with, especially at the moment where there's been a lot of remote learning.
Yeah.
So to have something like that would really help any candidate to stand out.
And that's what I've sort of been saying to students, that although they haven't been able to go into schools, what they're actually able to do is to develop a skill set that a lot of the teaching profession didn't have time in university to develop. And this leads to the next part of the module. So they're actually going to be developing some numeracy activities for Welsh Water. So again, it'll look brilliant on their CV. I was going to ask if you could offer any advice. So if any of your teachers were fulfilling this role and they were preparing any numeracy activities, what would you expect to see, or any advice you could offer our students who are preparing these primary numeracy activities?
So firstly, that they're purposeful, so that they've got that link to the new curriculum, so they're not just something that's been thought out from thin air, that they are focused on what's expected in the new curriculum, or in the current. That's a problem at the moment. We're working on 2 curriculums, but they are fulfilling that purpose. And authenticity as well. I think that's a major sort of pedagogical principle for schools at the moment. Is it an authentic learning opportunity? Is it something that the children can relate to, and something that's real life for the children as much as possible? That it's engaging, that it is something that the children will want to do, and something that the children will want to get involved with and engage, become engaged with. Possibly that it is, because obviously we know within a classroom we don't have all the same abilities, and we do have to differentiate. So that would be a nice part of the resource, if there was opportunities for support or opportunities for extension as well, so that you've got the main activity, but then you've got either side of it as well to support those children who might need it, or to really challenge those children who may need extension. We've started, or we will be starting, in my previous school. I used something called Dr. Ice, which stood for deepening thinking, role modelling, impact on progress, challenge and engagement. And we're just starting on that journey now in here. But in my previous school, that was brilliant. We used it for all of our planning, and every sort of activity we thought, right, how are we going to deepen the children's thinking? And that could be through questioning or through the activity. Role modelling, so how am I going to role model it? Do I need to give a waggle, as we call it, what a good one looks like, or some kind of model? That always helps. What impact are going to have on their progress? So like I said, going back to how is this linking to the curriculum? The challenge, is this going to challenge the children, and is it going to engage? And I think if you follow those 5 principles in your resource, you'd be on to a winner.
This is all gold. This is brilliant. I'm glad we're recording this. Well, that's great. I mean, the other part of this module, and this final thing really, is just, so we're trying to develop digital skills. It sits at the heart of the curriculum. Any advice in terms of how they can use digital technology to bring these numeracy resources to life? Any advice you'd have there? Or?
Yeah, there's so many ways, isn't there? I'm pretty good with IT, things I feel like to touch sometimes. There's so many apps. I mean, things like augmented reality, where things are coming to life, and there is so many ways of using technology that instantly engage the children. We recently started using an app called Quiver. I think I want to check. I think it's called Quiver.
Yeah,
where
that's
the children sort of draw something and then it comes to life. Oh, how lovely! They loved that. They were so engaged with it. Yeah, it was so easy to do. So there is a wealth of apps and things out there that could build into that, and certainly with digital competency framework being high on the agenda, and with IT being such a big part of the new curriculum, it's definitely worth thinking about. Even if it's little things that you can build in from a digital perspective to the resources, but with guidance as well for teachers, because students coming through, and like I said, I'm pretty good with IT, but actually I feel out of the loop sometimes because there's so many new things coming through. So it's keeping it edgy whilst being straightforward to use as well.
Yeah, and whenever we develop digital resources with schools, I think we always forget as teachers that we don't always think of it in the eyes of a child. It should be fun. It should be engaging. Little characters, music. Things that they would like. I think sometimes that's forgotten.
Yeah, definitely little characters. That always works, like we've got our 4 purpose characters, and when we used Dr. Rice in my previous school, we have characters, and it's just something the children can relate to. So yeah, You can use sites in that way, or to create digital content as well, videos, or there's so many good video creation apps now, such as Spark and iMovie, and things like Morpho as well, and using sort of characters in Morpho. Morpho is an app where you can, have an avatar and talk over it. The children love that, absolutely love it. They're just so engaged by it and so drawn in by it, even though, it's just a character and essentially their teacher's voice. So easy to do, but so engaging at the same time.
Yeah, and that's half the battle. Is if you can engage them and you can motivate them, then you're on a good road to helping them to learn. And so,
definitely.
I mean, I'm really conscious of your time, and just to sort of finish, because when you started and you talked about your sort of journey into teaching, and you mentioned the resilience that you've demonstrated. I think for my students, they've demonstrated resilience from the minute they've stepped on campus, and it's almost just to sort of emphasise that it won't be a smooth ride through teaching. It will be bumpy. It won't be all highs. There will be lows as well. But that is very natural. That's part of the career.
Yeah, it is, and it's something that never goes away. And building that, as well as working on yourself as a professional and as a teacher, work on yourself as a person as well, and working on those sort of self-management skills. Building resilience is so important. It is teaching. The teaching degree and the teaching career is demanding, but it is the best career you could go into, because no day is ever the same.
No.
The working, that's certainly the case, isn't it? It's never ever the same. Working with children is an absolute joy and an absolute privilege, and it's worth the hard work. But yeah, it is a bumpy ride, and you'll have good days and you'll have bad days. But what you've got to do is celebrate the good days, and when you do have those not so good days, just stop and reflect and think, okay, what have I learned from it and how can I move on? One of the things that really helps me, and as a teacher and still now as a head, and it's something we've got in every class working on our growth mindset, is just something simple called marvellous mistakes. So in every classroom we've got an empty poster called marvellous mistakes, and whenever anyone makes a mistake, it's celebrated, it's put on there, and what have we learned from it? And I've still got one. It's up there behind me, actually. I probably can't see it. I've still got that marvellous mistakes poster in my room, in my office, and every time I get something wrong, because I do, I stop, and it feels rubbish. When you get something wrong, when you have a bad day, it feels horrible, but try reframing it and thinking, okay, that was a bit rubbish, or that didn't feel very good, but what have I learned from it? And whenever that happens, I sit and I think, okay, it goes on my mistakes board, and I reflect on it from time to time. And that's really helped build my resilience in just thinking of reframing things. So when you do have those tough and challenging days and you don't feel like you can go on, just stop. Number one, stop and look how far you've come. Focus on where you want to get to, and just stop and think, okay, that day was rubbish, but what have I learned today? So that really helps me.
Yeah, definitely. And I was always told I had a brilliant tutor in university, and they'd say, you have to remember, you're still a student, you are learning, you're on that path of learning. It's not really perfect. But you're brilliant, because this is what we're looking at in our maths part of the module. And it's so important, and I think I'm so glad to see that the curriculum's changed to celebrate mistakes, because that's a part of maths and mathematical learning and numeracy, that we need to make mistakes to actually learn. So I'm really glad that you've mentioned that. Oh, well, thanks so much. I know that our students are going to take loads from this. They're going to be hugely inspired from just this short pearls of wisdom that you've given us. But I'm going to put up your contact details in terms of Twitter, because I know you're on Twitter with the school, and I'm sure that our students will get loads from that. So thanks so much for your time.
That's all right. It's a pleasure. No, happy to be contacted in any way. For anything, for anything. No questions ever too small, or even if it's just to share something, we'd be more than happy to be contacted.
Oh, you're going to be inundated now. Oh, amazing. Well, have an amazing day. I'll just stop the recording now. Thanks, Lynsey.
All right. Thank you. Bye.